What is going on, everybody? I am your host, the Financial Conspirator, your guide for everything financials and conspiracies. There's been a lot of news going on, so we are going to be talking about a look at the current momentum of institutional Bitcoin adoption and the future outlook.
Co-founder and CEO David Marcus. Marcus previously led payments at Meta. He's also at PayPal and has been going to this conference, I believe, since something like 2013.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so it was like five guys in a basement in 2013, and now it's this?
It was, maybe 100 people in San Jose who didn't know what they were doing, but they found Bitcoin interesting.
And how many people were talking about this time?
35,000, I think.
So,
yeah.
When you saw the vice president there, I mean, if I had asked you in 2013, the vice president shows up at something like this, did you ever think that was in the cards?
If you asked me a year ago whether that was going to happen, I would not believe you.
And so where does this go from here? We were just talking to a fellow from Merrill Lynch, talking about sort of, when and if so these major firms are actually able to start pushing this stuff, not just sort of accepting it, if you will. How does that change it? Or do you think that's already built into the price?
No, I think there's so much room to go from here because Bitcoin is becoming mainstream. It's becoming really the true digital gold that we've all been talking about for a while, but now it's actually happening and people care.
But you've always talked about also trying to make it a payment system.
Yes.
Actually buy stuff with it.
Not necessarily with Bitcoin to unit of accounts, but build a real-time settlement network on top of Bitcoin.
Which is what your company does.
Yes.
So the question is, when does that take off?
Well, it's taking off right now. We're having very large digital banks coming onto the network. We have Nubank that has 100 million customers in Latin America. We have Revolut coming on. We'll make announcements soon about U.S. banks coming on as well, and other large wallets that are coming onto the network. So we're live in 70 countries, and you can move any currency to any currency in real time 24/7 on a weekend with Bitcoin in the middle. So it's happening.
How do you feel about a company like a GameStop putting it on its balance sheet, maybe playing a little bit of a Michael Saylor game? I don't know. And whether you think that's coming to corporate America writ large?
I think it is. The really interesting thing with Bitcoin is the incentives that were baked in 16 plus years ago, and now you see it play in such an incredible way. We had a lot of concentration with strategy, and suddenly you have dozens of other companies that are, spinning up. So you're spreading the risk basically into other companies, and even Michael would say that he welcomes other people doing it. So I think it's just the reality is digital assets are becoming mainstream, and alongside other asset classes are being traded by many more people. Including probably, and increasingly so, families of elected officials and others.
David, why would a stable coin based on the dollar not supplant the idea that Bitcoin will be used for frictionless transactions?
So people actually get really confused with stablecoins because they think it's both a digital dollar and a payment network, and it's only the former, it's not the latter. And so the way we see the world is we're very asset agnostic at Lightspark. So you can move fiat currency, you can send dollars to someone in Mexico receiving Mexican peso, or you can move stable coins on top of Bitcoin. And we think that is actually the best combination.
On top of Bitcoin, not on top of the dollar.
No, the stablecoin is a dollar stablecoin, but the network is actually, that allows those stablecoins to settle is actually Bitcoin.
And I'm not sure if you XRP fangirls are paying attention, but at the end of that monologue, he said that they're building stablecoins on top of the Bitcoin network. On top of the Bitcoin network, not the XDC, XLM, XRP, whatever else coin you guys want to float by. And just to further the point, we saw that the Donald Trump media company, and you don't have to agree or disagree with his politics, but the fact of the matter is Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America, and the president of America, his company is following the strategy playbook. This is something to take note of. You don't have to agree with his politics to see where he's putting his money.
he did these things. The reason we got into crypto, and we're all in on crypto, and we're doing American Bitcoin, and we have World Liberty Finance and USD1, was because there was a time, and probably I'd been on this show, where I could call any single banker in New York City. They'd pick up the phone. I'd be able to get a loan for whatever real estate project I was doing across the street. Then we got into politics, and all of a sudden, they wouldn't take your call. Right. You couldn't get financing. We were debanked. And what I realized, and my brother realized, because we were the recipients of every subpoena imaginable, was that, you know what, we were actually just the top of this sort of pyramid scheme that we didn't realize we were a part of, that the financial system was totally undemocratized. Because we had a certain balance sheet and whatever, we could kind of do whatever we wanted. The regular guy was messed up. Now we were all of a sudden in the shoes of the regular guy that wouldn't be able to take advantage of the markets. And we said, what's the solution for that? The answer is crypto. These decentralized platforms where you're not beholden to this, where you create efficiencies. As a guy that did real estate, why am I paying points in and out for title insurance that could be done on the blockchain? So we got into crypto not because it was like, hey, this is the next cool thing. We got into it out of necessity. We got into it because we understood just how quickly we could be turned off, even as an incredible developer from New York City. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that we didn't change the skyline of New York City, but that disappeared in an instant. I mean, we're getting sued by the New York State AG, $500 million fees for paying back loans on time with interest. These aren't, fair markets. There's nothing egalitarian about any of that. So we actually, as innovators, as people who understand these things, we went all in on a concept that makes total sense because we'd actually been the recipient of how quickly that can be shut off.
And he made the point that he was at the top of the pyramid scheme. And I have an exact video on that topic, how Bitcoin exposes capitalism, the pyramid scheme that is capitalism. Please check that out. Now, institutional supply shock and hyper-Bitcoinization. With the Donald Trump media company, with the U.S. government itself, with strategy, with Metaplanet, with Russia, China, with all these people, with all these corporations, all these nation states fighting for Bitcoin, the supply will never increase. They will be forever competing for a finite supply, a fixed supply, with an ever-increasing demand. What happens to price? It's very simple. It's very basic and elementary. But I'm going to keep repeating this because this is what separates Bitcoin from everything else.
You're back from Vegas. The crypto speech was a big hit. And I know a lot of smart people love crypto. I know some smart people actually have reservations about it. Sure. For our audience, can you just kind of make the case for crypto and people who have, concerns and quite frankly don't even understand it? There are a lot of folks out there. I know a lot of people own it, but
yeah, of course. So look, I'm an owner of Bitcoin here, but I'm also the Vice President of the United States. So I want to be careful, but I think the core value proposition of cryptocurrency is that it's a way of transacting and a way of storing value in a modern digital age. Look, 100 years ago, if you wanted to go and buy something, you put a dollar bill on the table, you put a gold coin on the table. The value proposition of Bitcoin is that it can serve the same function, but in a digital age, a way that's secure, that's safer from fraud, that allows people to buy and sell and store value, but in a way that's consistent with the modern technological age that we live in. Now, having said that, I fully accept there are risks to all of these things. There are always risks to new technologies. Our approach in the Trump administration is to say, let people innovate. Let people figure this stuff out on their own. If the critics of Bitcoin are right, I happen to think that they're wrong. That will eventually win out in the marketplace. If the advocates of Bitcoin are right, and I happen to agree with them, if they make their case, that's eventually going to win out in the marketplace. What you shouldn't have is a dictatorial government that tells certain industries they're not allowed to do what they need to do. You've got to let people make these decisions on their own, and that's sort of been our approach. We want common sense regulatory regimes. We want to allow the cryptocurrency industry to participate in the mainstream of the economy. But then ultimately, the laws that...
You're back from Vegas. The crypto speech.
We are watching a complete shift in culture. We went from seeing exchanges being sued by the government, being shut down, forced to leave. That's all gone. That is all gone within the matter of, I think it's been a few months, 6 months, 5 months. I was not expecting it to happen this quickly, I will admit myself, but it is happening. The global repricing event is taking place. Every millionaire in America will not be able to afford one Bitcoin. Every nation state, every corporation will not be able to catch up with strategy. Everyone will get Bitcoin at the price they deserve, which is why I think you need as much as you can possibly get today. And we are seeing M2 monetary supply hit new all-time highs. We've been tracking this for a few months now, and it's been working out. So until it breaks, I'm going to keep talking about it. If Bitcoin were to follow global M2 one for one, we could be seeing 170,000 within the next 100 days. And over to strategy overlaid with M2. This is a 110-day offset. If we were to follow this same pattern, we could be seeing MSTR above 500 within the next 3 months. Hold on to your hats. Stay educating yourself. And strategy's unrealized profit. The last time I posted this, we were sitting around 15 or 13 billion dollars in unrealized profit. And now we're sitting on 20 billion. We as in strategy. And I am a strategy shareholder. I will disclose. And none of this has been financial advice. This is all just my opinions and entertainment. But if you did find any value, if you were entertained, please leave a like, a comment, share the video with a friend, family member who needs to understand this information. And you guys will see me next time. I'm out.